place where they store a lot of, the government. It's documented. They have their own ever since the Nazis.
Yeah.
In the 1940s, created their own hovercraft. It was called the Bell. An absolutely fascinating amount of light years ahead of technology than they tell the public, because the technology that they have is light years ahead.
Yeah.
That this is all factual and this is reality. That there are beings out there who aren't human. That's a fact, 100%. These beings, we're being told that they're extraterrestrial. As a matter of fact, they're interdimensional.
All right, man, it's been a while. Been in a bit of a hiatus, but it's good to be back. For everyone that doesn't know, Isaac from Nite Talk Podcast. I'm actually running this podcast myself now, so definitely a lot of things coming up. Definitely a lot of things that I'm changing up. We're going to be really focusing on quality, and yeah, I really have to bring this guest back on. And honestly, I really enjoyed the first episode we did. We really dove into some detail about some big topics, and I gotta admit, some of the topics we did talk about, boom, it blew up. It absolutely blew up on TikTok, and I like to appreciate the feedback and the comments we all got. Some lovely, some not, but hey, that's the podcast game. That's what we want to try and talk about, real topics and real substances. But please welcome, his stage name is Gianni Caprice. I didn't mention that beforehand, so I do apologize. And yeah, it's really good to have him back on, and he has a lot of wisdom, a lot of good things to talk about, and I just want to dive into it. We never really discussed it before, but the music, man. You make some really genuine quality music, and I'd just like to tap into that a bit. And what is it about with your music? What are you trying to interpret?
Thank you very much, man. I'm very humbled to hear that, and thanks for having me on again. It was a pleasure to come on the first time, but regarding the music, I guess I've always just had a knack for music. From a young age, I knew that there was something, I felt differently towards music. I felt it a lot deeper, I guess, than other people, and this led me to, I guess, production. Just messing around when we were younger, through the DAWs, and one thing leads to another, and you start learning the little bits and pieces of producing, and I guess everyone's different. Some people might pick it up and put it down, and they'll let life distract them. But for me, I wanted to learn more and more. One thing led to another, and then I was just making. At the time I was listening to, hip hop from a very early age, a lot of EDM. So a lot of house music, a lot of trance. I think dubstep was pretty big at the time as well. I'm not sure if you remember.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was in that era.
Right. Yeah, dubstep was very big.
Yeah, very big, man. Very much indeed. I remember Skrillex was pretty big back in the day as well. He's still going around too, so dubstep was very big back in its time. But did you take a lot of inspiration from dubstep and other genres of music to kind of interpret your own vision?
Well, I actually did, because at the time dubstep was very infused with house, and this became bass house. We didn't really hear much bass house before. A lot of these big artists started experimenting with it, and it's something that drew my ear. Someone who's a sucker for bass lines. I love bass lines. I'd say the bass is probably my secret weapon.
Yeah, no, you can't go wrong with bass, man.
Yeah, having a real bass line behind the instrumental is what's, I think, key for my ear, for my sound. And everyone's got their own. Some artists and producers have more of a knack for, they focus more on their drums.
Yeah.
Another artist might focus more on their synths. I definitely feel as if I put a lot of focus on my synths.
Yeah, man, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, over time, it's just, I took a lot of, because back, you know, a long time ago, when we had I think it was Planet Green, we had the Stereosonic, we had all the big artists like, you know, Skrillex, and they were coming to Adelaide, they were coming to anywhere across Australia, and you know, that they were infusing that bass house together. So I did take a lot of inspiration from that, from the dubstep. I never really made much dubstep, it was more so experimenting with house music. And yeah, I experimented with a lot of house to begin with. I didn't even start making hip hop probably until a couple years into producing. And you know, I really found my feet in producing hip hop. I felt, you know, for some reason the electronic dance music scene was very oversaturated.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah, even at such an early stage on. So I, you know, from having these different genres, I've been listening to, you know, from an early age. You know, there was a lot of variety there. So yeah, that's what inspired me to produce hip hop. Listening to you know, producers like Dr. Dre, Battle Cat.
Yeah, man.
A lot of West Coast stuff. You know,
I love West Coast. I literally been brought up in hip hop. Like most of my life, I've been brought and raised up in hip hop. It's really a good influence, man. Like it's honestly such a good outlet because it just puts you into that zone. Hip hop is just so old school and so original, and I have so much love for the old school.
Yeah.
So talk a bit more about the old school stuff that, you know, obviously you've sampled some tracks and kind of just made it into your own. You know, what inspiration have you taken from like the old school?
Well, yeah, you touched on a great subject there. You
know? Yeah, man.
So I'm going to gather that you listen to a lot of 90s stuff.
Yeah. Oh, like I'm talking late 80s and 90s, 100%.
Okay.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. So even I know that you said you were a big Tupac fan.
Yeah, Tupac. Do like a bit of Biggie, obviously. Nas is great. They're all top tiers, man.
Yeah, so a lot of the artists from back then, they all used a lot of sample work, and you had these producers who kind of came out of the scene who were experimenting and creating a lot of sample work, like, you know, Jay Dilla, DJ Premier with Gangstar.
Yeah.
And we're talking about timeless hip hop, absolutely timeless. Pete Rock, I think even Ninth Wonder came a little bit, you know, onwards. I listened to a lot of Ninth Wonder as well, and we're talking like a sound that was created purely out of, you know, soul music, and incorporated into hip hop. And if you're a lover of soul music, you know, if you can sit there and listen to sample tracks from like the 70s and 80s, and you can listen to just that track, you can appreciate a good hip hop beat that's been sampled well.
100%. You could just tell as well, like with a lot of the hip hop tracks, and if you look at Kanye West as well, he's taken a lot of sample tracks, and he's such a talented producer, man. Obviously up there with Dr. Dre, but he's taken a lot of samples and he's just elevated with his own distinct sound. And I definitely with Kanye West, I think I'll just touch on it a bit because I'm a big fan of him. I love his work. But obviously he's very religious in a sense. You know, he follows the love of Christ. And with his music, you can feel it. You can feel the soul within his samples, and that's what I like about these old school, you know, R&B, man. It's just you can feel the soul is there. But when we're talking about, you know, our day and age, EDM, household music, it's very bass heavy. Voice crack, very bass heavy, and but very bass heavy and just very sampled, oversaturated in a sense. You don't really feel the rhythm is there. Would you agree to that statement? Yes or no?
So with that statement there, I would 100% agree, because it's a total different sound in comparison to when we look back through the 90s and early 2000s. And I must say, you know, a lot of, I'll give you your credit, because not a lot of people give Kanye his props for being a producer.
Nah, man.
He's one of the most talented producers.
Oh, he's hella talented, 100%.
You know, and he doesn't get enough credit for his music production. You know, people see him on stage, they see him but they don't see him for his production, and he's such a gifted producer. So yeah, I mean, the scene is so different now. Looking at the rap, looking at the hip hop today, it's got a very different sound.
Yeah.
Not a lot of samples are being used anymore. I think a lot of the mainstream hip hop tracks are very inspired by using the 808 drum, the bass drum. They're very, very heavy on the hi-hats. And I think it's just centered around the drill music in particular. Drill music is kind of taken over the hip hop scene.
UK drill especially is just elevated. If you're looking at like Central C, David, very talented individuals. Obviously Stormzy, shout out to Stormzy. Obviously we're not that close, but Stormzy elevated the drill game big time, and he really elevated UK drill to another level. And yeah, it's just obviously been put on the map since then. But Central C, David are probably the top names that are being talked about right now. But yeah, UK drill's just taken off. So I think that's why in this space, drill's just become so relevant within the hip hop game. 100%.
It's I personally feel it's a whole different vibe, like a vibe to the original sampled hip hop that we saw a lot of during the 90s. Growing up, I used to listen to just a lot of rare 90s hip hop. And just having that ear for the old soul music, because I can sit there and listen to like a record like over and over again, or like just a genuine, I have a genuine love for soul music in general, and that's what kind of inspires you to give it your own flavor and your own rhythm. And this is where you can use hip hop and you can really put your own spin and flavor on that track, and it really is an amazing thing,
So I've watched a bit of your music videos as well, and they're actually kind of interesting. So do you do all the editing yourself?
I'm very blessed to have a very talented videographer on board.
Videographer? Oh wow. Yeah, because I've looked at some of the footage, and obviously I'm going to be showing this through the reels and that. Shout out. It's unbelievable. And I feel like with the videography that you've got with your music videos, it has a bit of storytelling there, and it's kind of interesting. So obviously with your label, with your stage name, Gianni Caprice, what is the story you're trying to tell through these music videos? What are you trying to illustrate with your music and the music videos? If that makes sense.
I think the story that I guess needs to be told through the audio, so whatever's matching the audio. I obviously put a lot of depth into my music, whether it's about a certain topic in general. Therefore it has to have a video with a lot of depth.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't use music videos for a lot of my tracks. Maybe just some. A lot of artists, and props to them, credit to them for they'll release every single track, they'll have a music video, But obviously, just having those tracks, and if you can find the right kind of layout around the track, and you want the correct video to go ahead with it. I guess it's all about having the idea and all about having the team on board that can help you. Very blessed and grateful to have a number of people that I work with in my team who help me get the finished product. But I do a lot of the project myself, so I oversee the whole project. So that's what a producer. A regular beat maker would just make beats and send them off to artists. But for an example, I'll oversee the whole entire project. So I'll take care of the artwork, I'll take care of the video, I'll take care of the vocals, whether they're mixed, and I'll have a master gentleman on board, who's very gifted at what he does in the mastering business. So yeah.
It definitely helps to have a team in your corner as well, because independency is another good thing, and we'll touch a bit more on that later on in this conversation. But definitely having a team on board is one of the biggest things. Like if you have someone in your corner trying to help push your motive and your vision, then they can actually see where you're coming from. And this is like another thing I'll probably touch on a bit about myself, why I've had such a long break. You know, obviously I've had to work out what I've wanted to do with the pod and, you know, just life, man. Like life in general, I've wanted to try and work out, and you have to take yourself out of the space. You know, you have to have some time and think, okay, you know, what am I actually doing? You know what, when you have too many people and their visions clashing, it can overturn the narrative of what you're trying to tell. And that's the reason why I had such a long break, and I just wanted to come back and, you know, really just get back into quality, you know, just going back to the roots of what made this, you know, special to me. But yeah, 100%, like having that team behind what you're trying to put out is so fundamental. And how does this help you improve as a person to a degree, having these people in your corner?
Well, I think I spoke a lot about, you know, having the right people around you in the first podcast that we've done. But I must give a lot of credit to the fact that I spent a lot of time, I chose to spend a lot of time isolated. So there will be nights where I chose not to go out. There'll be nights I chose to stay at home working on music.
Yeah.
There'll be nights that I chose to spend on my own. This helped me have much greater self-awareness. I was able to, a lot of people I've found have a hard time spending time by themselves alone.
Yeah.
I think if you need to have a goal in mind, if you're very driven, I think spending time alone is crucial and key.
100%, man. I can't even argue that point. It's so crucial, and I definitely want to put that out there. Like the fact that you can isolate, and it is hard for some people because some people can't thrive on being isolated. But for me, when I took that time to isolate and have time to rethink a lot of things in life, I also became a lot stronger person.
You need time to, so you just said it yourself. I mean, you need time to distance yourself from the noise.
Yeah,
distance
man.
yourself.
The noise, 100%.
So you can spend more time, you know, whether it's spending time with yourself, getting to know who you are, getting to have great self-awareness, and really focusing on your purpose in life. These are things that, you know, it's very difficult to focus on when there's a lot of people around, you know?
Definitely.
So it is important having people in your corner that are going to support you, but at the same time, don't be afraid to get it on your own, go your own path in life. And if you really got a dream, you can get at that dream on your own. And the people who are going to be there to support you are going to be there regardless. If they're not there in your corner, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
man.
Don't be afraid to chase your purpose in life, whatever that purpose is.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can't even argue that enough. And obviously, I'll probably move into the topic of independency. And that is, you know, obviously we're talking about isolation, but being independent is like another thing on top of that, you know. Being independent shows, you know, the values that you've kind of like, you know, grown over time to. You know, you don't have to always rely on people. Yeah, it's good to have a team. I will say it's good to have that team and some people in your corner. And there's nothing wrong with having good friends. Like I'm very blessed, and as you should be as well, having good people and good friends in your corner. But I will say when it comes to a business, you know, business mindset and just trying to put something out there, you know, as a musician, you definitely get that narrative. You have to be independent. And definitely in this state of the world, I think being independent is the way to go. And I think we're being driven by other forces, obviously, to, you know, not be independent and fall to a system where it's, you know, very vague and very bland. And hey, I might as well be real, and I might as well speak facts. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat anything here, but like, you know, this is what we're being pushed into, being, you know, put into jobs and being put into things that we're not enjoying. And I do think it is fundamental to go through that, because that can build your character. It either breaks your character or it either makes your character stronger. And this is the thing I was wanting to get into before we start getting into the depth of this podcast. Why is being independent so important in this day and age?
I believe that being independent is so important in this day and age. Because at the end of this day, you know, you've got yourself there, and you're born into this world alone. It's just you, and only you.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not coming from a selfish point of view, rather selfless. So having that time to yourself and being independent, I feel is very important. Also having, you know, love and care for others is also equally very important. But, you know, a part of being selfless is learning to have boundaries with yourself, create boundaries, you know, with people in your life.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we talk about music, for an example, and music being independent, it depends really, because all different artists have their own vision and have their own goal.
Oh, precisely, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, obviously you were telling me about your journey throughout life and how you've chosen to go your own path through independence. And so the music scene is very similar. Like, you have artists who choose to go independently their whole journey, and they can create a success out of it. You know, they're able to have people who enjoy their music. They're able to make music that they enjoy, that they want to make. They have an opportunity to really release music that, you know, fuels their soul and puts a message out there. So being a producer, I personally chose to go on an independent route. I chose to be very selective about who I work with. I'm obviously very careful about what kind of message I want to put out there to an audience. I think it's very important to put the right message out there. But it was never always like that. I can say all the artists I've worked with, I'm very grateful to have worked with them, and it's been a great learning experience. Obviously, I'm a bit more focused now in a certain direction.
Yeah.
Wasn't really like that from the beginning, perhaps, but I've chosen to go that route. And yeah, the you know, collective that I've worked with, you know, I'm blessed, you know, to have worked with them, and like I said, yeah, the vocalists as well. It all depends on each different artist and each different individual, you know.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, every person to their degree has a selective vision, and like, music is very like that. Music is divided in so many niches. You got R&B, you got rock and roll, you've got drill, you've got all these types of niches within music itself. Like, it branches out. It branches out, obviously, and yeah. Look, it's very fundamental to be independent, because it helps you build your character, and it helps you grow and evolve. Like, I gotta admit, going back to when we were talking about the noise, you know, obviously the noise around you. For me, it was, you know, obviously there's, you know, outside factors and dramas that do occur. And
in everyone's life, yeah.
Yeah, in everyone's life, man. But sometimes you got to take yourself away from that, take yourself out of that. And if it's a negative environment, you got to take yourself pretty, you know, clear from that. And you really come to appreciate your own company. And this actually helps build your character. And I got to admit, like, every single week, man, I've just been training. Currently training with Benny. Shout out to Benny, man. I really appreciate you training me. It's been a blessing.
We talked about how much he's helped you just previously, so
yeah, man. And probably another topic I'd like to get into as well. And this would be relatable to you, but outlets. Boxing has been such a good outlet for me. It's helped me build as a character. My mental health is way better, and I feel like I'm in my zen. I'm always in my zen. I feel
most time, man. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I feel very like at peace. And you know, what are the type of outlets? Obviously, you live in a very busy industry. This industry is very hectic. You know, there's a lot of things and a lot of things going behind the scenes that, you know, a lot of people don't know. You know, music is one of those industries for sure. Hey, it comes with anything, but you know, what outlets actually help with that? You know, help you put you at ease, or help you deal with the stresses that you occur with.
Well, fortunately enough, music is actually an outlet for myself.
Oh, how about that?
Well, hey, there you go.
You're in the peaceful side of it. That's killer.
Peaceful side of the industry, yeah.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Because it's because I work independently and I deal with the people directly. It's very, very laid back, and you know I can tackle that, you know, with ease and with no pressure. So it's very very laid back, you know, the music wise. And going back to your original question, how I choose to what was it? How I choose to
Like how you choose to like what are the type of outlets? You know, so obviously you've got music.
I apologise, yeah.
No, that's all good. Like obviously you've got music as an outlet, and yeah, you've clarified definitely you've got a good side of the music industry, which is, you know, hey, it's blessed, man.
Yeah.
Because, you know, my best mate Archie, I love him. He lives in a very hectic, very non-stop, you know, gigging and traveling a lot. You know, he's done big things with his band, but
yeah, big ups to Archie.
Yeah, 100%, man. He's in a very busy aspect of the industry, so he tackles a lot of that, and he's a very strong individual for that. But obviously, going back to what I was saying, like the outlets, you know, obviously I've got fitness, and bro, I gotta admit, I praise fitness without a doubt. Fitness is so detrimental, and it's so fucking good for your health. Swear, but anyway, it's explicit. But you know, what are the type of outlets that actually do help you? So you obviously got music.
I think the you know biggest outlet would be you know, having that relationship with the Most High. And,
okay.
you know, really getting into the Word of God. Music as well.
Yeah.
See, music takes the pressure off of life. So I still listen to a lot of, you know, house, garage, a bit of a different vibe, you know. Yeah, I change it up a bit. I don't really listen to hip hop as much as I used to. But you really got to have that balance, like I said, between objective and subjective. So too much subjective is, you know, not good, especially for a man. You know, a man needs to, you know, be able to be in control of his emotions all the time and be, you know, be disciplined in that sense.
Definitely, yeah.
You know? So a good balance of objective and subjective is very crucial. But yeah, like I said, the music, fitness. I do a lot of fitness and taking care of my health.
That's beautiful.
And you know, the much knowledge you acquire, and unfortunately the many things that you learn about will help you kind of come into the understanding of what's good to eat, what's not good to eat, what's kind of been weaponized to us, you know. And unfortunately, there has been a lot of things that you know, that you see out in the shops that are actually not good for your health, and that are actually, you know, causing you to feel a certain way.
Okay.
It's because of the chemicals and stuff that they put in the food. So yeah, I'm very typical about my health, and I do take a lot of care and, you know, self-care with, you know, what I drink, what I eat. And yeah, so back when I was younger, I was very overweight, you know, and over these years, you know, praise the Most High, I was able to lose a lot of weight. And yeah, I just, you know, learned things like discipline. Discipline's crucial and key and very important. And so, yeah.
So going back to what you were talking about, food being weaponized, it's actually kind of interesting. Would you say a lot of these big corporations are behind that? And you know what, when you're talking about weaponized, how's that actually damaging our bodies? I'm pretty curious.
Yeah, so the things that they've weaponized, the food, they've weaponized the water, and it doesn't take very much, just a simple, you know, even if you want to use Google, you can do a simple Google search and type in some of the chemicals that you actually see on the back of your ingredients. You know, you go down to the shops and you pick up, you know, a case of food. You turn on the back and see, unfortunately, society has been, you know, manipulated into thinking that they don't have to read the ingredients. And so what this does is this allows big corporations to add in whatever they want, you know, without anyone questioning and asking. And they've even brought out a 5-star health rating on So no, I'm not throwing up the 666.
No. No, I know what you mean. Yeah,
they do like a 5-star health rating, right, on the box, and it gives you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they can tell you. I've seen things with like vegetable oil in there that will give you like a 4 or 5 star, no joke. You know, if you actually look into things like vegetable oils and, you know, a lot of seed oils, see like, you know, that these things were actually made for cars. You know, things like vegetable oil and canola oil. And so these things are basically in everything that we eat.
And this is what we're digesting as well. And people are very unaware of this too. And like margarine's actually, like margarine is something that's really bad. So it's in a lot of our butters, our dairy products, and people are just oblivious to it.
It's what they put in the margarine, which is the issue. So you go to the shops and you get a spread of olive oil margarine, right? It's only probably got 5% of olive oil in there. It's got it's loaded with vegetable oil.
Oh wow!
And preservatives and all these things in there. So you're actually meant to be eating butter, but how much butter is actually in there? But they've got things like ghee. Ghee is something that's it's like organic, pure cow milk, which is what butter is. It's the fat from the cow milk.
Yeah, correct.
So things like this are like pure butter, and I know a lot of Indians and Asians cook with ghee.
Yeah.
It's you know, something I'll replace butter and margarine with. But you know, so heart attacks, we really didn't even hear about heart attacks until they started introducing something called Crisco oils.
Crisco oils.
So Crisco oils were a company who created all these oils, seed oils, canola oil, vegetable oil. They created all of these oils, and we all of a sudden started hearing about people having strokes, people having heart attacks. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was somewhere in the 1930s, somewhere in the 1940s. And that's just a good idea of, you know, them weaponizing our food to this day. Still to this day, there's this food out in the open for everyone to buy.
And yeah, you've got these big corporations. This is something we actually talked about. Our episode will be coming out tomorrow, actually, with Connor. This episode will be coming out a bit later anyway. I don't know why I mentioned, but we talked about, we're talking about corporations and how when obviously COVID-19 happened, and I don't really want to talk too much about that, but I'm just giving you like a scenario. Like when COVID-19 happened, these corporations like McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, KFC, Domino's, you name it, the big corporations, I'll even throw Subway in there because they're definitely not healthy. And there's a lot of proven facts to that. They were all still open. You're thinking to yourself, why these big food, takeaway industries are still open when gyms were closed, all the health clinics were closed. They were the first things closed. So this was a driving factor that I believe that, you know, people were urged into a laziness. Not all people, like I think a lot of people in that period definitely became more independent, individual, and fitness became a priority. For some people, you know, I'm not judging everyone. What everyone does is what everyone does.
Oh, hey, yeah.
But
even the liquor stores were open as well.
Yeah,
the liquor stores were open in the middle of a pandemic. Yet the churches were closed. Yet the gyms were closed.
Exactly.
The liquor stores were open.
So
that's all right.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is, I know.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous, man. What I'm trying to say is, all these corporations that are making billions of dollars, right, were still open. And you think to yourself, you know, why were they open? You know, in a pandemic, wouldn't you want to like try and keep healthy? Eat oranges, eat mandarins, be on top of your fitness, having the right vitamins. You know, it'd make you wake up and think, okay, I need to look at my health and look at the internals and see what I need to attack to make sure, you know, I'm on top of, on top of it and being healthy and avoiding like getting sick. And I'm not talking about obviously COVID. I'm talking about, you know, other viruses like influenza, the flu. There's a lot of viruses that are out there that can attack us. But yeah, I'm just curious. You know, why do you think these big corporations were open around that period, and how did they profit out of it?
So the organisations you're referring to, are
McDonald's, all your takeaway food joints, because we're going into food, and now I think we'll dive into these corporations, man.
Well, there's 6 large major corporations that own pretty much the entirety of I think it was regarding the food.
Yeah, man.
Just in general. So there's 6 major corporations who own most of the businesses around the world that might have changed right now.
Yeah.
Regarding food, you've got these corporations, and there's clearly an agenda behind. You see all these corporations that are still open. There's clearly an agenda as to why they're there.
Yeah.
They're giving us fast food. Fast food is making us sick. I personally can testify that I used to eat a lot of fast food, growing up.
It's right there, man.
It's in your face. It's on
right there. It's advertised. You've got McDonald's, obviously, there is good things about it. They obviously support cancer research and that, so there is these fundamentals, but they're sponsoring a lot of these, I
believe that they masquerade, yeah. So they pretend that they do good, they support cancer research.
Oh, yeah.
In reality, just like a lot of these, they come across as philanthropists. They're doing well for the community. They're doing well by they're supporting charities. In reality, they're making people sick. They're making people overweight. They're putting atrazine, chemicals like this in their food, and they're really weaponizing their food against like men and women. And you don't really think about this until you actually start researching it, and everything starts to go off like a light bulb in your head. This is why I always used to get sick. This is why I always used to feel this way after I eat McDonald's, after I eat Hungry Jack's. You start to realize, once you start cleansing yourself from the inside out, you realize that the agenda was to make you overweight, to make you sick, to make you have anxiety.
Man.
No joke. It comes with the food that you eat, and if you really cleanse yourself from the inside out, it just changes your life. So if you have a life where you're just generally watching what you eat, watching the ingredients, always reading the ingredients. We've been trained from such an early age not to read the ingredients. These things are absolutely crucial and key. So always looking out for seed oils in your products. These things will lead to an early death. And
without doubt.
Just like many other things that have been, perpetrated on humanity.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like why are these things allowed to still be there? If they knew that they caused heart attacks back in all of a sudden the 1940s, why did they allow these chemical products to still be on the shelf today?
Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't they get rid of them in the 1940s? There seems to be some kind of agenda why they're there in the first place.
Yeah, man. Nah, without doubt. Like you're not wrong there, and these big corporations and the higher ups, they get away with this stuff, man. They're really puppeteering, what we can do and what we can't do. It's really, in a sense, it's very linear. We don't know what's happening around us, and I think when you start to open yourself up more to the ideas of what can be happening, it definitely helps you grow. And going back to being independent, definitely helps you grow as a person and really think of these outside forces and what you can do in preparation. What you can do to better your financial sense, how you can avoid an economic collapse. And I feel like that's been talked about a fair bit. I know some higher up individuals. I won't really mention names, but from sources, they've definitely been hounding it down. And these corporations, BBC, will publicize these people as bad and brainwashing young men. But really, it's definitely giving young men and giving women of all kinds, obviously, a voice, and really just trying to be independent, trying to look out for what could come, because you never know. This life it's very unpredictable, so you don't know what can be around the corner. But I think the question I'm trying to lean into is, where do you see this economy going? Is there going to be an economic collapse? Will there be kind of like the Wall Street collapse, how the markets plummeted and you saw how bad that was for the economy? And America's to this day is still trying to recover from that. But I just want to hear what you have to say and where could this go?
Well, first we need to establish who are these corporations like BBC, who are these corporations that are controlling the media. Like I said, a couple of years ago, there were 6 major corporations who own and control the entirety of the businesses around the world. I'm not talking small businesses, by the way. Surely your viewers will be able to.
Oh, yeah, correct. Yeah.
I'm talking about major corporations. So we need to establish who they are and what their goal and purpose is. So we get the BBC, for example. They will demonize and criticize anyone who comes out and speaks the truth. I'll give you a good example. There was one of the people who was very close to BBC. As a matter of fact, he had a show on the BBC. His name was Jimmy Savile.
Yeah, okay.
He was a vicious sex predator. He was a known child molester. He was friends with Prince Charles. He was friends with all of the people at BBC. He was a known sex predator. The BBC done their best to cover his tracks until the day he died. Right? So, First of all, we need to understand that there's an agenda behind the BBC. There's an agenda behind all of these massive corporations. They'll be the first ones to demonize and criticize someone who speaks out because they are nothing but a propaganda machine. They're a weapon against humanity, and they are owned by people who don't have our best interest at hand.
Is this something that you've come to believe? Have you have you researched into this?
Yeah, none of this is my opinion at all. This is all factual, and this is all from primary sources. This is all on the. This is everywhere and anywhere. This is primary source factual information. So we have to be very careful that we don't put our opinion into things like this, because our opinion can take away, the truth out of what is actual reality. So we need to be careful that we don't put our own opinion in. We can have our, suspicions.
Yeah, of course.
And we can connect the dots ourselves. And I think it's very important to not be lazy.
No.
Not be naive and look into things, Understand what things are before you're watching them. I think it's very important and very critical. So you asked me about an economic collapse. Once again, we have these corporations who own the media outlets, who own the news. They seem to be painting a picture like everything is okay. They seem to be painting a picture that our economy is doing fine, when in reality it's a far cry from how things are actually holding up. And I'll give you a great example. You can go on the US debt clock right now, and you'll see that the US is over $30 trillion in debt right now.
Shit.
And it's only going up.
That's unbelievable.
Just to scrape the surface.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
So who are these people? The United States of America, who are they in debt to? They're in debt to something called the Federal Reserve.
Right, Federal Reserve, and what?
Because people need to ask themselves where money comes from.
Correct, yeah.
Where does money come from? Who prints the money? When you start asking yourself these questions, you start to realize that, okay, the government doesn't print money. Where's the government getting the money from?
Yeah. Yeah, so to a sense, are you trying to tell people to be more diligent, trying to be more careful in a sense, and more likely, research into what's happening around us? Or are you trying to tell people that, there's maybe something on the horizon? Again, I wouldn't know this. I haven't researched into this. This is just me asking a question. Well,
it appears that things are going south, and they're going south very quickly. and I'm not talking about down south. I'm talking about things are going south like you wouldn't believe. I believe the economy is and this isn't my opinion, we're hanging on by a thread. All it's going to take is one major event to happen. You could wake up the next day with $0 in your bank account. We've had several cyber attacks that they're broadcasting on the news. They're looking for a perfect scapegoat to create an event, to create a outcome where they can blame an event on a hacking organization, on pretty much any desired type of way that they can portray an outcome, that there's some sort of boogeyman. They need to blame a boogeyman.
Yeah.
And people need to understand and be aware that this is their own government that's doing this against them.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And it may be very hard for some people to believe, but there's something called Stockholm Syndrome. And Stockholm Syndrome is something where the captive falls in love with the person who has them captured. And they are constantly enslaved to the captor. And they refuse to believe that they would do such a thing. This is called Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome.
And unfortunately, a lot of people do suffer from this when, and some of it is willful, some of it isn't willful, because, a lot of people, these are the people I feel sorry for. They're trying to maintain a family. They go to work every day. They don't have time to think about these things. They have to understand that the government they have them like a rat in a wheel, and they have them that way. They have them that way so they can take advantage of it.
So to a sense, very confined, and what you're trying to say is oblivious to what is actually going on. Yeah.
Oblivious to the fact that it doesn't seem like it's reality. It seems like anyone who tries to tell them things like facts and who tries to, I guess, wake them up in a sense to some certain things which just don't seem right. They would label these people and have them think that, this isn't right, They've got people in a state where a lot of people are unfortunately very very naive. Like I said, some willful, some not very willful.
Would you say to a sense maybe gullible? I'm not calling out people being gullible, but
Gullible, yes, and it's the way that they've portrayed and designed society over the years, and even the men as well today. What they've done to masculinity as a whole in general. Masculinity is under attack, and they've unfortunately the men are the pillars of so the men are the not in a sexist way at all.
No,
men are the pillars
course,
of society. So men have been under attack because it's like, if you can demasculinize all these men, if you have all these men in a state of they're not going to stand up and tolerate what's going on, they're going to just sit back and completely, so there's a whole agenda to like feminize men as well. And there's a reason for this. If you have a large number of the male population who's just passive and doesn't care about the things that they do care about, not walking in their true purpose, and not, I guess, standing up for what's right.
Yeah.
They're going to take advantage of that fact, and they're going to, unfortunately, walk all over.
Yeah, so
and implement their agendas.
Yeah, wow. So I definitely want to talk more about masculinity, because that is definitely an issue that's been concurring quite some time, and it's definitely damaging, betrayal of like men. And yeah, again, I'm not going to be sexist in any shape or form, but masculinity is being attacked. It's definitely being attacked, and I think our privileges as being men, it's definitely, or in a sense, getting undervalued, and especially with men's mental health. I'm very big on mental health, and like as every man goes through their journey of life. You know, we all experience these ups and downs, but with men, we definitely have to. We have the I'm trying to think of the word. There's this persona in a sense where we have to keep it under the covers, like nothing's going on. And that's not how it should be in any shape or form. I think men really need to speak out their issues. I think we need to put it out there so it makes other people around us stronger and united, and having a united front where all men can collectively talk about their issues would be such a good founding, image, and it really restructure masculinity. It really put a strong perspective of, why masculinity is so important and fundamental. What would you say to an extent is very fundamental to a young man, trying to grow up in this world? And what would you say to the young men that are going through these challenging times, and how would you in a sense encourage these men to push themselves and become their true form?
Well, speaking from a male's point of view, obviously I'm not a female, so I can say for a male's point of view, one of the biggest weapons against young men is pornography, and I was a victim to it myself, and I believe that it destroyed a lot of my adolescence, because this is an addiction that I overcame. As most, I actually think nowadays, it's a common problem with most men, having some sort of pornography addiction. I remember the first time, even being exposed to something like that was from a very young age. And, my parents did such a good job at raising me and that, but it will creep through somehow, some way, because it's the internet. These days, the internet is a place where you can literally search anything online. And, when you're exposed to something like that at such a young age, the dopamine receptors that are going off in your brain are absolutely, it's like a drug being given to your brain, So from a young age, for a young man's perspective, pornography is something that they need to understand is a weapon, and something that has been a weapon there to just rob that man of his innocence, of his purity, of his of what it means to be a man. Pornography is such a weapon on young men and men in general, because there's even men that still watch pornography who are married. And once again, if we look at where pornography came from, we'll see why it was such a big industry.
Yeah, well, again,
And sorry, if you don't mind, I'm just going to add on. There's something called Your Brain on Porn. And Your Brain on Porn is, something that is mind-blowing. If you read that, if you read the statistics and you read what it does to your brain, it destroys your brain. But there's many other things that, young men can also do too.
Yeah, wow. No, and again, I think pornography has been weaponized and has been normalized now, because we're living this day and age where there's other outlets where you can make money. And, again, I'm not going to attack any individuals, but OnlyFans has become very world renowned. And a lot of TikTokers have reverted to OnlyFans. People in this day and age have reverted to OnlyFans because it's a good outlet, it's a good income if it blows up. And yeah, pretty much what you were saying, I think pornography has been weaponized and has attacked, not just men, but, everyone in general.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, that's really interesting, because, it's something that us men definitely need to take note of. And, for an individual that's definitely, recovered from this, but, has
something that most men
come past to this, how does it change you as a person, and how would you advise people to make that change?
Well, I believe it helped substantially. So just going through life and understanding that these things are not healthy for your well-being, for your brain. and learning to overcome these little obstacles and hurdles that you go through, I think is very crucial. So I think all young men who are single should be practicing semen retention.
Okay, and what does that actually mean?
So semen retention is preserving yourself, abstaining from masturbation, abstaining from pornography. I found that is the absolute key to being a man, because when you understand that, how precious sex, your seed is, when you understand the meaning of life, and you understand, things like this, things like practicing semen retention help you gain purpose and life as a man.
So self-preservation, in a sense, is that what you're trying to state? Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
And this is something that helps tenfold. I like to say it's one of the keys I've found to life. It's amazing what benefits you gain. You gain an obscene amount of confidence. You gain a substantial amount of self-awareness, depth, perception, an ability to be your true self around no matter who you're around, and just to be really in touch with yourself, things that you can experience, like that we all have as human beings, like being selfless, having love, empathy and compassion towards others, but at the same time, really, really kind of just doing that in a way where you can still be who you are in general. It's one of those things, it needs to be felt rather than explained, And like I said, for most young men out there, it's something that they should be practicing.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, like what we've been stating so far, we've got these food industries that are taking, advantage of us, and you've got these big corporations that are controlling our financial state, and you've got masculinity really being attacked because of what pornography is doing to really young men and, people around us. So I definitely want to explore more of what, I'm trying to picture the question where we want to move the narrative, but this is very very interesting for sure, and it's good that we get this out. So obviously we've got these outside factors, and they do cover up a lot of things, and I'm very curious what your take is on this. And I do believe there's other forces, there's other life forms out there. I think you can see where I'm going with this, but there's other life forms out there, and people are very oblivious to, we're the only planet, all these other planets wouldn't have any life, there's definitely not a million, God knows how many infinity, galaxies out there, so it really makes you think, there's so much out there that we don't know of, and I do feel like, since the beginning of time and how long Earth has been around, for sure, I'm sure there's been, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracist, but this is just me trying to think, I'm sure there's been other life forms that have visited Earth in a sense. And obviously these massive corporations, the government, the higher ups, pretty much what you were saying before, I think they are covering up, certain things. And obviously the big topic everyone loves talking about is Area 51, whether that's real or not. I just like to hear your take on that. Is there things that are being covered up to the naked eye? And, what evidence or what do you think is really going on under the surface?
Well, let me just say that the term conspiracy theorist was introduced by the government after the assassination of JFK for anybody who questioned the official narrative. So a person who was a conspiracy theorist didn't even exist before that.
Really?
So that's where the government conned the term conspiracy theorist. Anyone who decided to question that narrative was called a conspiracy theorist.
And since that event, that's really transpired so many major events that have happened across our lifetime.
So we've had things like you know, the 9/11 disaster.
That's a very big one, yeah.
Yeah, anyone who decided to question that was called a conspiracy theorist. Anyone who decides to question, you know, the agenda with food being weaponized against us is called a conspiracy theorist.
Correct. Yeah.
And they can just go ahead and put whatever they want in the food. They can go ahead and do whatever they choose to do to enforce certain agendas and to inundate certain, you know, narratives onto the masses of people. So going back to what you were saying, with the Area 51.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So Area 51, you wanted to know.
Well, to a sense, I'm not really regarding Area 51, but obviously, you know, we've got these higher forces, and like what you were saying before, higher up from the president and the governments. I think there's a lot of things that are undercovers. You know, Area 51 is one of those sites that, who knows, probably holds a lot of very artificial life forms, maybe high-tech weaponry. We don't know. This is us, you know, theorizing, you know, what could be under this facility. And people, you know, obviously conspiracy theories have been brought from this subject, let alone, and there's been, you know, thousands of conspiracy theories coming from this. There's been a lot of leaks. There's been a lot of news about it. And there is people that have worked in that facility and tried to expose and never been heard from again. So it's very fascinating, and you wouldn't know what is going on under there. But obviously what I was trying to say, and I'm making it very broad, but I'll try and narrow it down. Obviously what I'm trying to state is, you know, is there things that are being, you know, under the covers? Is there evidence that no one has known of yet?
You touched on a very interesting topic.
I know, and
the reason
I'm very, very curious to hear your take.
The reason why I say that is because, you know, from such an early age, I was just fascinated by UFOs, and I'm talking about, you know, since a little child. I was fascinated with UFOs. I was just obsessed with, like, a, you know, supernatural, and this is what, like, later led me onto my path with the Most High later in life, because I wanted to understand the truth about, you know, UFOs. What are these aliens, you know? I was just obsessed with the X-Files. I've still got all 9 seasons of the X-Files sitting at home. I used to watch X-Files religiously. I used to watch it religiously because it just, there was something about the unknown that I was really drawn to as like from a young age. So the X-Files, it really touches on, I guess, everything supernatural, from the aliens to the UFOs. And after watching all 9 seasons from a young age, I wanted to know more about aliens, wanted to know more about UFOs, and, you know, kind of led me to what the truth as to what they actually are. You know, researching things like Area 51. Area 51 is obviously a government protected site. No one has access to it, and yeah, it's a place where they store a lot of, you know, the government. It's, you know, it's documented. They have their own, ever since the Nazis. In the 1940s, created their own hovercraft. It was called the Bell. You know, you can go and look this up. This is not my own opinion. So the government can create their own metallic crafts. They're like an absolutely fascinating amount of light years ahead of technology than they tell the public. So they tell the public that they have a certain amount of, you know, technology, when as a matter of fact they couldn't be any further than telling, you know, such a lie, because the technology that they have is light years ahead. So they have the ability to create these metallic crafts, but unfortunately the deception doesn't end there. So they can create these crafts, but people have to realize that the technology that they have technology, holographic technology, that they can create holograms And I've seen this. I was watching this this video the other day. I think it was in China, and they were showing a shark jumping out of the water, and it looked that real that the people actually literally just started running away from the water as the shark jumped out of the water. I've seen whales flying through the sky, this holographic technology that they have. So this kind of technology can make something look real when it, as a matter of fact, is actually fake. They have this kind of technology. There was an incident in America called the Phoenix lights or something like that, where a massive UFO flew over the state of Arizona, and after seeing what that was, there was a person who was a Men in Black who claimed that they were Men in Black. Because this all comes from real life. Will Smith and Tommy Jones.
Yeah.
It all comes from, they get the ideas. They love putting the truth in movies.
Yeah.
Truth in movies, lies in news. They'll tell you lies in the news, but they'll always put truth and predictive programming in movies.
You know what another good movie?
Desensitize you to
You know what another good movie was? It's called Nope. That was actually a really interesting movie. Jordan Peele, he's obviously done like Us, Candyman, Get Out.
Okay.
It's very horror genre. But with this film, it was very like this UFO, and there's a certain scene I'll discuss. It's terrifying, and this is why it's like the human mind can depict what an alien can look like.
Yeah.
And in this scene, this UFO, it's not actually aliens controlling this UFO. It's actually a living organism. So the UFO is characterized as like a living organism, and these people get sucked in by the UFO. And it's like they're pretty much getting eaten. Not eaten, but they will eventually digested and everything. But this UFO, it just sucks them all in, and they're all it's like claustrophobia. They're all squashed in this confined little space, going up the mound of this organism, and it's
interesting.
It's terrifying, man. Like you're thinking about, how John Peele even come up with the idea of this UFO being like a living organism.
So let me ask you something. So UFOs and aliens have been around, ever since like the 1940s, 1950s. They introduced this idea of, aliens and UFOs. Now, do you think there could be some type of agenda to get us desensitized to the fact that they actually do exist?
Definitely. Oh, definitely, man. I think it's being very desensitized, 100%, because if people were to know the truth of there's other life forms, I think the whole world will just go crazy, because it's such a big concept to deal with.
Knowing the fact that we aren't actually alone.
We're very comfortable in the sense of what we're used to seeing. Like if I saw a dinosaur running out of nowhere, I'll be like, oh my god, is that even real? Like I thought they were extinct. So where I'm trying to come from is like, if everyone were to know there's life out there, which 100% there is, you can't not believe there's something else out there. There's millions of galaxies out there.
Something more to life, yeah.
Yeah, there's millions of galaxies out there. There has to be different realities.
They tell us that, but you've never actually seen that with your own eye.
And like what you're saying about...
Which is a bit of a concern.
Like what you're saying about the movies, I'll go back to when you were saying about the movies, and obviously I was talking about Nope. The argument I was coming from is, obviously Men in Black was an idea of a UFO flying across. You've got Stranger Things. Stranger Things is depicting two realities. So obviously you got normal reality and the upside down. So obviously depicts, maybe characterizes a bit of the underworld to a sense, but another reality. So, like, do you think there's infinite realities? Like, do you believe that, how you got like these superhero films like, the multiverse? And I'm not going to make this into a big topic, but, do you think there's other realities? Do you think there's a Isaac 2.0 or?
Yeah.
Well,
hey, there can only be one Isaac, right?
Exactly.
Well, one,
I'm getting into such a big topic, but like I'm not asking you to have the answers, but I'm just trying to seeing what you think about that.
That's okay. I don't mind the deep dive. So So in a sense, like other dimensions, yes. just going back to what I was saying before about the Phoenix lights. That was,
I'd like to hear about that.
That was a hologram. That was a hologram that flew over, and they tested this technology. I can't remember exactly when it was, maybe over 20 years ago. So if they have the technology to create a hologram like that and fool like an entire state into thinking that's actually an object that exists, imagine what kind of technology that they have, and they could potentially inundate amongst the population. So going back to what you asked about the dimensions, or different realities, there's one dimension that we live in now, and there are higher dimensions out there, and what we have to understand about. So going back to the X-Files, what we have to understand is from my personal perspective and my research, and once again, this isn't my opinion. This is what I've come to research and understand.
Yeah.
That this is all factual and this is reality. That there are beings out there who aren't human. That's a fact, 100%. These beings, we're being told that they're extraterrestrial. As a matter of fact, they're interdimensional. Yeah. They can travel through different dimensions into our reality, and they can do this because they have the ability to do things that we can't do. They're not human, these beings, right? So we look at these things we call aliens. We're being told that they're extraterrestrials from outer space. Really, in reality, they could be from a different dimension. And these things are evil in nature. You know? I personally, one of the things that blew my mind, and this is before I was I came into the truth of our Creator and the Bible and His Son, and Satanism and the Illuminati. Before I researched any of this, one of the things that blew me away was these alien abductions, right? Because these things actually happen. People will get abducted by these aliens.
There's been countless stories that have been like undercovers. There's been newspapers about there's been Joe Rogan. He actually interviewed a guy that actually underwent a near abduction, and he just goes in detail. And I can't remember his name.
Was that Travis Walton?
Yes, Travis Walton.
Yeah, so that was another movie, Fire in the Sky. That was a good movie. I remember watching that when I was younger. But we have to understand that these things are interdimensional beings, and so. Can we what were we talking about again?
We're pretty much just talking about like aliens.
Yeah, did you ask me? I was going to go somewhere with that question that you asked me.
Yeah, like do you believe? I'll keep this till when as well. But are we believing that there's like other dimensions? So how you got Stranger Things, and it's got like the upside downs. It's like the same reality. This is like very like physics, very like confusing. Obviously, like we're not supposed to know everything. But obviously you've got, the upside down, which is, the same place, but different reality. There might be something that's different, completely different about. So obviously we're talking about the aliens. And obviously, we're shedding light to that. And I was just, diving into like, dimensions. And obviously you were talking about, there's other forces that, have the power and technology to, from other dimensions.
Yeah. So
it's a tricky subject, but,
Yeah, like I was saying before about, diving into these topics. Sorry, I remember where I was, right? There's one thing that absolutely fascinated me. Like I said, this was before I had done any research with that. One thing that fascinated me was these beings would flee in the name of Jesus, right? So these beings, every time an abductee will cry out to Jesus, if they were, spiritual or religious or something like that, these things would flee. And that really got me thinking. It's like these people who will be abducted, why would these beings flee in the name of Jesus? Why would they flee in the name of Jesus? So I done a lot more research and just into these beings and what they are. I came to the understanding that these things are interdimensional beings. When I started reading and understanding the Bible, the extra biblical scripts like the Book of Enoch, we see that there were beings who fell to the earth And I went over this briefly in the last podcast. These beings fell to the earth, and they've been here since mankind was created. And these things are fallen angels.
So just so the viewers know, are we going into a more, and I don't mind talking about this because 100%. Is this more of in a spiritual sense, a religious sense of what you believe in? And obviously everyone has their own opinion, but is this something you believe?
We have to understand that this is all tied in together.
Oh, of course.
So you made a statement before saying, right, that we're not meant to know everything, right?
No, of course not.
And that's true in a sense, but with the information and knowledge and understanding that we've been given already, most of the things that we should know, most people don't know. It's because they don't read. It's because they choose to reject information and understanding which has been given to us.
To a sense, reject the idea.
Reject the idea of it because they've been brainwashed and I guess manipulated in a sense through modern day religion, through the television and what that's kind of perpetrated religion out to be like, when it's really not that case at all. When we start reading these things, it gives us answers as to things like, okay, there's beings here that are from a different dimension, and they've been here from the beginning of time. These things are fallen angels, and they're called aliens. People call them aliens.
Yeah.
But they're fallen angels. They're the angels who fell from the beginning of time. When everything was.
I remember you stated it in the last podcast.
So in the last podcast.
Yeah,
that's right. So these beings have been here from the beginning of time, and the government knows that they exist, and they work with the government. These beings, and they hate humanity. That's what we have to understand. So in a sense, we're told that these fallen angels are aliens. They're from outer space, which is another lie that we've been told. We've been told that these things are extraterrestrial in nature, and that's a complete lie. These things are demonic entities. They're evil entities, and they're not here for our own good. Put it that way, And there's beings here, angels that are here for our own good, and they protect us in the spirit realm, because there's another dimension out there that does exist, and that is the spiritual dimension. That's a different plane, an astral plane, where there's demons, and there's angels.
Okay, so I see where you're going, and I think 100%. So obviously we've gone to the topic of aliens and dimensions. So in a religious aspect, we're depicting that the aliens from outer space, and this is what I'm gathering, what you're telling me. Obviously, your other dimensions are like your heaven, like the underworld, Tartarus from Greek mythology. Many names for the underworld. Is this what you're trying to state, to a sense?
Absolutely, yeah. We look at volcanoes and lava. Where do you think that lava comes from? That lava comes from the center of the earth.
Yeah, the core of the earth. The
core of the earth. And what does it speak about in the Bible where Hades is? Hades is the center of the earth. It's a place called hell. And people don't think that place exists at all, but you simply have to look at things like volcanoes. Like, where do you think that lava comes from?
So things that are actually around us. So obviously you're trying to state that things around us. So for example, waterfalls, nature, the beauty of nature, it's something that is a resemblance of heaven, and what heaven, and I'm not, again, everyone has their own beliefs, but depicts their state of mind of what a heaven could look like, what that could look like to a viewer.
Simply, how do we know what heaven is? It's just written in the Bible. It's just written in the transcripts.
No one is meant to know, but if we're going to like a spiritual sense, like I've definitely grown in a spiritual sense. Like I am very aware of like what's happening in our world. Again, I'm not oblivious, and like growing around this day and age, you do, like I said, everything we've literally been talking about. The independence is very crucial. The isolation is very, detrimental. It helps build and helps you, really think about life and really thinks about, the bigger picture. And my spirituality for myself, it's been a journey of, going back to my roots and, and really thinking about the things that happened in my life and why they happened.
Okay.
What outside factors, were controlling it. And I'm not even talking about government. I'm talking about, again, what you were saying, like entities. I do believe there's good energy and bad energy, without a doubt. And I've been...
Can't deny that, yeah.
Yeah, no. And like I've been like religious, or spiritual, more spiritual in a sense as of now. Well, not now, but for a while.
Yeah, I don't like that word, that word religion.
What, religion? Right, okay. And why don't you like the word religion?
That word, it's got nothing to do with that.
No. I'm not like offended, but
when they talk about religion, this has nothing to do with what you're saying. But people talk about religion. They put it in a box with church, with everything that they've been brainwashed to believe what religion is. When in reality, like you were saying, you've gone on your own deep spiritual journey and you found, that everything happens for a reason, and you found that religion is just like, it's another control factor, which is what we've been kind of been born into.
Do you think like religion, to a sense, is another big corporation out there that is controlling perspectives of what people want to believe in?
Yeah, we see the modern day church today was actually created by Freemasons. The modern day church. These Freemasons orchestrated the church, and it goes back to the Roman Catholic Church. It goes back, to the Jesuit order, who created all these different types of church denominations to pretty much keep people docile and asleep to actually what they're doing and what's going on, and to not speak about things like the New World Order and the things that are going to essentially lead humanity into a one world government, a one world religion, all under the control of the New World Order. This is why they've set up, and that's not to say all churches are bad, because that's not true at all.
No.
But the whole church construct was to keep people under a sense of control and under a sense of, being docile and in a sleep state. These were all set up by the people who are the controllers of society.
Yeah, right.
So they've set up this whole construct of religion. They've taken away the true core of spirituality is having, a relationship with our Creator, because it's all based on faith. It's like, how can we have a relationship if we have no faith?
So obviously, how we're talking about the New World Order, and that's pretty fascinating topic. It's big. It's something larger than us, obviously, and what we're really going on about, these corporations, and then spanning onto the whole deception of aliens, and gone beyond that. It's very, very intriguing to the sense, but I do feel like we're moving towards. I think we definitely feel like as an economy, there's big changes. There's things that and this is what I think, that are happening under the surface. And I keep using the under the surface, but I get what what I'm trying to say is there's a lot that is happening that we don't know of. And, I would like to hear your perspective and what you believe and what you have researched about the New World Order. I'm very intrigued.
So, since the early 1960s, we can go back to George W. Bush's first speech. Sorry, it wasn't his first speech, but he said that we all need to bring about some global idea, a new world order. I can't remember exactly where he held this speech. We hear all the main presidents talking this day about a new world order. They bring it up at the World Economic Forum not too long ago. They said, "Are we ready for a new world order?" They said that. We've heard Joe Biden talk about this new world order, the current American puppet president, and Because that's what the presidents are. They're puppets, really. You know, they're not pulling the strings at all. They get orchestrated to play a role. See Joe Biden right now playing this role in the White House where he's constantly falling over and you know, falling down the steps. This is all by design. This is all by design to make people believe that he's you know, intentionally crashing the United States of America.
So right? you're thinking. And sorry, I'm veering off to obviously the main question, but
because I just did that as well.
Yeah, but just veering.
I was getting there, don't worry.
Yeah, veering off to the main question, but that's pretty interesting. Like, you know, so really, you think that Joe Biden is actually, you know, putting on an act to a sense?
Absolutely,
like,
it's symbolic. What he's doing is symbolic. Falling down constantly all the time, pretending to fall off his bike because he's an elderly.
So it's not the fact that he's old; it's actually to a sense of. You know, is it what do you think the acts of what Joe Biden is doing is publicizing to the public?
We're seeing the fall of the United States of America. We're seeing the end of the you know, Western powerhouse, the dominance of the United States of America. We're seeing the end of that, and we're seeing Joe Biden falling over all the time. People have to understand that that's symbolic in nature. See the New World Order, the Illuminati, they speak through symbolism. You see, Manly P. Hall, who was a famous 33rd degree Freemason, he said, when humanity learns to read the language of symbolism, a veil of eyes will fall from the eyes of man. So when you learn to read symbolism and you understand that these people in power, everything they do is symbolic in nature. They use signs and symbols to communicate. They use signs and symbols to orchestrate their plans. They map out what they're doing and they tell you what they're doing in movies. It's called predictive programming. It's all symbolic in nature. They're doing this because in order for them to rid them of their evil, these Satanists and these Luciferians who are controlling society.
So is that what you're referencing, you know, these... You know, is that what you're referencing? The New World Order is pretty much controlled by these
elite people who have control over humanity, and they're not our friends. We've heard Ted Turner, we've heard Bill Gates, we've heard these high, you know, profile billionaires all talk about depopulation openly. There's a monument. Okay, so it was created. By someone anonymous called R.C. Christian, which I believe is a acronym for Rosicrucian, but which is another secret society. So this was orchestrated in Georgia. It was called the Georgia Guidestones. On the Georgia Guidestones, there's a 10-point plan, and the first one, it's written in all different languages, but we'll go, like, obviously being in English. The first plan was maintain humanity under 500 million.
And what's that mean, the 500 million?
In perpetual balance with nature. So if we look at how many people are on the earth right now, I know a few years ago it was 8.5 billion, but I also know that that's dropped dramatically right now for also certain reasons that the New World Order you know, has perpetrated.
I will say one thing, and this is, again, it's veering off to the topic.
That's okay.
I'm just going to be very vague with it. I feel like now with what has come out in these previous years about the vaccinations and how, you know, it's meant to help and meant to protect you from COVID-19. Again, look, I'm just stating it. I don't think... After that whole experience, and I'm not frightened or anything like that. Like, look, I'm very aware of what, you know, it's doing to some individuals. It doesn't frighten me. It's like, you know, this is life, and this is the things that these, you know, the higher forces are up there controlling. Anyway, I'll be vague about it, but like, I will never be persuaded by fear or persuaded by something higher than myself. In the higher ups, to make a decision but myself. that it's helped me grow as a person. And obviously certain people have taken it for their own reasons. I get it. I don't want my grandparents to get ill because of me. I think that would be a very hard for me to live, to know that I could have been a cause to that. So I get in some illustrations why people did the vaccinations, and like I just want to say, from my point of view, I will never be persuaded by fear again. Never. And it's definitely made me rethink. It's definitely made me think about the state of the world, and especially what we're talking about.
So it's changed your outcome of life.
It's ultimately changed my outcome of life. It hasn't damaged me. Like, look, I'm still living and breathing. Like I'm more alive than I've been before. But I've definitely, I will not be persuaded by fear. I will not be persuaded by someone telling me this and that. I will, I'll be the one making those decisions. And I feel like with everything that happened in that period, it was really a factor of controlling. And obviously going back into the topic, is this something you were trying to be vague about but discussing before?
Yeah, well, first of all, I commend you on that, and great respect for being able to do that, because what you've done is you've broken their greatest tool, and their greatest tool is fear. So by going through what you've gone through, obviously it's changed the outcome of your life, where you've actually realised what this has all been about. And you're not the only one. I've spoken to so many people who have just done, they've gone about their business, and they've just they've listened to the health experts, they've listened to the authorities.
100%, yeah.
And, things have happened to people that they know. There's things out there that we can't deny now.
No.
These people that are orchestrating these plans, people have to understand they do not have your best interest at hand. And these people, it's hard to believe, I know, right? They're serving a greater agenda. We've just witnessed the greatest deceptive thing that's ever been bestowed on humanity, and it's been painstaking to help wake people you love up, because I think a lot of people have gone through this, but obviously builds great character and great strength. But in a great way, there's also been a lot of people who have woken up to what's going on, because we can see constantly. You don't need to be told a pandemic is happening when you don't need to push constant propaganda to know what's happening.
No, exactly, and you've become aware of like what's been happening around you. But whatever situation you were put through, it's definitely made everyone else come out stronger. And obviously, this primary factor of the Illuminati being this, this thing that puppeteers us in a sense, is obviously what you're trying to state.
Yeah. So
one question I just wanted to ask real quick. Obviously this whole thing has made our economy and everyone around the world divided. Obviously about what I was just stating before, and I feel like, I'm just gonna put it out there, I feel like people really need to look past that now. We're in a new time. We've gone through our endeavors with what happened, and we just have to be strong, and we can't be divided, but unite, because uniting together and seeing what the common threat is, it's gonna push us in the right direction. And when you find peace in what you've gone through, it's only gonna make you a stronger person. That's all I'm gonna say about that topic.
Spot on, my brother. Very well said.
But back to what you were saying, with the new order and the Illuminati, I'll just let you continue on with your story.
Yeah, that was beautifully put. Look, the powers that be, we can call them the powers that be. These people don't have our best interest at hand, right? So going back to the New World Order, we're constantly hearing them push this one world order. So we have to understand that their way of orchestrating situations and getting, pushing certain amounts of people in a certain direction is something called, they have to orchestrate Hegelian dialectic onto the population, which is problem, reaction, solution. They have to create a problem to get what they want. They have to get a reaction from the public, and what we just witnessed, what you were saying, was fear.
Yeah.
They have to create a certain type of hysteria, and they do that by the media.
Yeah.
They implement fear. They control people through fear. Fear is the greatest weapon that they use, you know. So once they have the reaction, they come up with the solution, as sinister as it is, you know. So they'll say, oh, we have this is our solution now, you know. So the solution to a virus which was never even isolated in the first place.
Yeah.
People have to understand that this virus was never isolated in the first place, you know. Was there something going around making people sick? Absolutely it was. Absolutely there was, right? But it's not what we're being told. They can do that through manipulating the electromagnetic frequencies, for example. They can do this. People don't understand about electricity and radiation.
Yeah, well, that's like 5G is actually a really good example of that. 5G is, you know, a very high frequency that's actually damaging to the environment.
They can implement sickness through these.
Yeah.
There's
and
also things that.
sorry, man.
Sorry, go on then.
Nah, don't stress, man.
Go for it.
It's like with the 5G phones, and I've definitely heard about it. It's radiation. Obviously, what you're talking about, 5G and having 5G phones, it implements a bit of and don't quote me because I may be wrong, but a bit of radiation sickness. And obviously, you know how when you call your phone, you're having your phone so close to your face. You know, do you reckon that's implementing problems?
You're going to cause brain cancer by doing that. I always say to people, even family members, always speak on loudspeaker. Never ever speak to the phone against your head. You're literally causing a tumor that's going to develop over. If it's not developed over 5 years, it'll develop in 10, 15 years. These people don't have our best interests at hand. And I when you see people walking around with the AirPods, and there's so many people that use AirPods, you're triangulating a target point onto your brain, which is allowing the electromagnetic frequencies to triangulate straight onto your brain. And people don't understand the amount of damage that they're doing by using things like this, and it can be, you know, it can be quite frustrating to see a lot of people that don't actually do their research and see how bad it is for them. But, like, you know, these are just some of the things that we have to navigate through in this life. Unfortunately, these people that control all these corporations, and that they don't have our best interest at hand. So yeah, like going back to the New World Order, it's like these people want to implement a one world currency. They want to implement a one world government. They want to implement full totalitarian control over humanity.
Well, it sounds like a bit of a dictation to a sense, right? Yeah. Is that...
Some might use the word, communism. Some might use that word, communism. But they have to understand that like, communism is only a concept of what they truly want to orchestrate.
Right.
And it only scratches the surface of what it truly is, you know. It's worldwide control of humanity, and I like to just say, for the people at home watching this, they need to go and research
and listening.
What's that? Sorry.
And listening.
They need to go and research the 10-point plan by Alice Bailey. It's called the 10-point plan of the New World Order from Alice Bailey, and she was affiliated with the United Nations.
So she had very what you call high-ranking.
Alice Bailey, yes, she had influence. She was the author of many books, I think 24 in total, and she wrote the 10-point plan. And you see how her 10-point plan has come to a reality now, to completely destroy the structure of the family, to completely take religion out of reality for people.
Yeah. Okay.
Just complete utter control, and you know. So that 10-point plan, I also would advise people to research the top 25 Illuminati goals. So they had a number of guidelines and goals that they wanted to achieve. It's called the top 25 Illuminati guidelines and goals. and you'll see that all of these are being implemented right as we speak, and that this was no conspiracy theory at all. See, the Illuminati was created in 1776 by Adam.
1776.
So it was a long time ago, yeah, by Adam Weishaupt. But so going back through history, we'll understand that Adam Weishaupt was a Jesuit, which was another secret society. And if you go back through history, we see Abraham Lincoln, we see Napoleon. So all these, many figures.
The big names for sure.
So if we look at and this is another problem that society, has. Unfortunately, they have to understand that there were no camera phones back in.
It's all it was all written back then because, technology was very, very vague back then. Especially 1700s. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution was when we started to see development.
So we're currently in the third, I think, Industrial Revolution, and we're coming into the fourth now. So this will be the fourth Industrial Revolution. But see, like we were saying, people don't realise that they didn't have camera phones back then. Everything that was written word, and it was like their primary source of getting information to one another. So if we go back and look at the writings of Abraham Lincoln, of Napoleon Bonaparte, they were all terrified of this, the way they spoke about this secret society which were called the Jesuits. They were all terrified of these Jesuits,
Okay.
So who are these Jesuits? So people have to go back and research who the Jesuit order is, and they have to read the Jesuit oath. The Jesuit.
Could you give the viewers more of what this?
So the Jesuit order is a military arm of the Catholic Church, pretty much. So when the Roman Catholic Church was created, they created an arm that was set up to keep the Protestant churches arm's reach from the Catholic Church, and they would do anything, any way, in any shape or form, to uphold the Roman Catholic Church, right? So we have to understand that Adam Weishaupt, the one who created the Illuminati, was a Jesuit, and the Illuminati was pretty much just created as a front organization when this society, and that had to go underground because they were getting hurt. They were getting heard of. We have to understand right now that the Pope that was set up in Rome right now, Pope Francis, he's the first ever Jesuit Pope. He was set up there to destroy the church. He's the first ever Jesuit Pope. So we have to.
Is that what you believe?
No, this is he is a Jesuit. No, this is a fact.
So factual.
Yeah. He's a Jesuit Pope, and people have to actually start researching these things that I'm saying right now, because I'll start to realize that this reality that we're being portrayed is like a stage.
Yeah.
And this is like a stage that we're currently living on, and the people that control the earth are Satanists. They're Luciferians. And going back to the Georgia Guidestones before, it was written that they want to create a population reduction of 90%. I'd say probably about 90%. It's maintain humanity under 500 million people in perpetual balance with nature, right? Now, the alarming thing was, this was struck down not too long ago. So I would say that they destroyed that, because we're coming into a period now of time where they're going to fulfill that. They want a lot of people dead. They want to depopulate a lot of people, these people. This is what they want. To control a society, to control a population, it's easier if they have a minuscule amount of people to control. They say that there's too many people on the earth. The earth is completely overpopulated.
So a lot of like influence, in a sense, like more people there is, more influence that we can have over these higher ups, as I'll probably just reference them. Is that where you're coming from, in a sense? So like obviously with more population, more people on the world, some high figures, have mega influence.
They do.
Some in a positive sense, some in a negative sense, obviously, and what you're saying is depopulation can stimulate that. So obviously, neutralize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Depopulation is another lie that they've created.
I mean, like, if you're looking, again, if you're looking, like, way back, obviously the Black Plague was a very big disease. Ebola was something that was very, what do you call, quarantined to a sense, but very kept under the covers.
Yeah.
So there was these, humanitarian, crises that did occur.
People need to understand that these were actually all man-made. The people that, once again, problem, reaction, solution. The people that are in the powers that be, the high-level Freemasons, because the Freemasonic Order is another, secret society.
Mm.
The people that are, and it's very concerning when you figure out that almost every American president was like a Freemason, like a 33rd degree Freemason.
Mm.
Almost every single president. So these secret societies, they're not going to come out and tell you blatantly what they're... It's funny because they do this through the movies. They have to tell you what they're going to do to you.
Yeah, well, the movies are like propaganda.
Exactly.
I mean, it could be, if you look for an example, maybe like an actor or just someone that's high level, what they're being acted on films and stuff is a sense to a propaganda of what maybe is going on in their lives. Would you say?
Yeah, what they do is they put...
Just like what we're talking about with Men in Black, with the UFO. You know, it's, you were saying it's propaganda based.
Propaganda, yeah, to desensitize people to the fact of that actually being reality,
Actually, a good, obviously talking about movies, a good film actually illustrated that pretty well. Don't Look Up.
Okay.
It's got Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, and they're trying to persuade all these people that, there's this big asteroid that's going to hit the Earth in 6 months. And no one believed them. They did the research, they did the calculations, and they're like, this asteroid is going to hit, and when it hits, that's it, lights out, we're all extinct. And pretty much what we were pretty much talking about, these corporations, the media, the news, it's making it all goofy, and social media, they make it all goofy, and Leonardo DiCaprio ends up becoming really famous. He ends up getting publicized he's a very smart, handsome scientist, and then it gets to the point in the film where he loses it and says, the human race has lost faith. They've really become brainwashed. That's what the movie portrays, that people are oblivious to what's going on, and then when the asteroid does hit, it's like, oh shit.
It's here, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what that was? That was predictive programming.
Mm.
They're telling people...
What about the Simpsons? They say that's very, like they predict.
They predict, yeah.
Yeah.
And so people even think that, what's his name? The director of The Simpsons is a time traveller, Matt Groening. Matt Groening, because they predict so much things, right? They say that Matt Groening is a time traveller. What they have to understand is Matt Groening is a 33rd degree Mason. This is not a fact. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. These people, these Freemasons, right? They tell you what they're going to do before they do it because they believe that it cleanses them of their bad deeds. If they tell you what they're going to do, right, it cleanses them of their evil deeds. So if they tell you out in the public, these Satanists, that they're going to do something, and you look at it and you ignore it, then in their eyes, they see people like me and you too stupid enough to, they see people like us as, if you ignore this and we tell you, then you deserve what's coming.
Mm.
Okay? This is the sick mind of these Satanists and Luciferians that actually, they put it out in the open, and it's called sigil magic. Revealing of the method, sigil magic, predictive programming. They put all of these things in the movies.
Mm.
So things like Don't Look Up, these movies, they're all predictive programming. They're all predictive programming. So they might be, telling you that an asteroid is going to hit the Earth within a matter of time. They're getting you desensitized to the fact of this actually happening.
Yeah, exactly. So
You know?
yeah, kind of oblivious of the idea of what it probably won't happen kind of thing.
Getting you just getting you subconsciously ready for it to happen. So this is what they've done with all the cyber attacks, the blackouts, all the post-apocalyptic movies that they've inundated us with over the years. The constant alien propaganda, the UFOs in the media. You were even talking about Joe Rogan before on your and you were saying so Joe Rogan on his logo actually has the UFO on his logo. So a lot of these celebrities and a lot of these musicians, and you see I think it was Katy Perry who done a music video about E.T. They're always constantly pushing this propaganda, this UFO propaganda and propaganda about aliens. They're preparing us for something, just like they're preparing us for something with the movie Don't Look Up. It's called predictive programming. So people like Matt Groening, they're not time travelers. They're 33rd degree Freemasons, and they know exactly what's coming, and they're telling us what's coming, because it's some sort of sick way of telling us that we're going to endure this, you know, and for the people who actually understand and read and learn how to read symbolism and learn how to read, occult.
So very textual to a sense, like everything to a sense is being desensitized is what you're trying to say. A lot of symbolism is throughout our life. What we see around is symbolized, and characterizing what you're saying.
Yeah, we see the celebrities constantly pushing the all-seeing eye symbolism. They always do the 666. They're always making references to devil horns, and they're actually telling us out in the open that they're Satanists. And the average person doesn't bat an eye because they don't understand the meaning and the value of symbolism in the occult and in the secret societies. This is their main language. So when you actually learn to read all of the symbolism, you'll see that it all goes back to they're telling you out in the open that they're Satanists without telling you. They're telling you out in the open without telling you.
Yeah. So one thing I'm wanting to touch, and I think we'll probably branch into another subject. But yeah, obviously we've dived into what you've researched about the New World Order, and obviously people, like you said, have become very desensitized and oblivious to a sense. This is not me saying it, but obviously what you were saying before. How do people grow? How do people, obviously going back to when we were talking about independency and all these qualities and attributes that make you a person, how do you look around what's happening, but to a sense, grow as a person from what you're seeing and move forward on your endeavors? Because I feel like everyone's, I think, it's very, true. I think everyone here, we're all put for a purpose, whether, you're obviously, putting your messages out through music and spreading positivity and really, spreading your message in a positive way is, this is good because we can talk about these things. And if you were to go on BBC or any of these big news corporations, it's hard. You're gonna be cut off just like that. So one thing where I'm trying to come from all this to close this subject is, how can you grow from everything that's been happening and just become your true self? Because it is a very hard thing to find yourself with everything that is going on around, and obviously
distractions.
And obviously when we're talking about isolation, that's probably one of the biggest things that helps drive that factor. How do you in a sense shut off what is going on around you and be in peace and be within your zen? Again, this is your perspective, and go for it.
Well, I can only speak from my perspective, and I can tell you that learning all these things and understanding all of these things really changes your life. It really changes your life, and it really puts you in a... Because the thing about most people is that if you were to tell people these things. It doesn't happen overnight. The whole process of changing your life.
No,
it happens over time.
It takes time.
So the average person won't be able to handle this information. It just strengthens your mind to an absolute insane amount of strength and understanding and depth and perception that you have. So learning all these things is very upsetting, and when you try and help other people to wake up, and especially people you love, and that can also be very upsetting. So in reality, what it does is it strengthens your mind and gives you a layer of conditioning that you never had before. So what that does is that builds strength, builds character, because you learn how to operate in the world knowing these things, and having the gift of discernment, knowing when is the right time to speak up, when when it is that you have to tell people and when not to tell people. So it builds strength, it builds character, and none of that would have been possible if it, so understanding, that these people are Satanists, understanding about life in general is not what they tell us, and knowing that there's all these lies is actually learning the truth about why we're here and our purpose. And the beautiful thing is that we were created and we're spiritual beings. And then understanding that if Satan does exist, if these people do worship Satan, then the beautiful thing about that is God exists.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no true power, there's no other true power than the Creator. And like I said in the first podcast, the Creator sent his Son down here, and he was the first one who faced persecution, So waking up and realizing all of that, and understanding that the Bible is not just some religious book. It's actually a supernatural book that speaks to each and every individual. All you have to do is pick up and read it, and it speaks to you. It's amazing. I've witnessed so many people who have said the same thing, including myself.
Yeah.
Understanding that that's just not just a book. It's a history book. It's about why we're here, why we're created. It tells us and gives us the wisdom and understanding and knowledge that we need to succeed as human beings. And it's not the false perception of what they say is success. It's not all about having money. It's not all about having cars.
No, it definitely isn't.
Which is what the influencers are pushing these days. It's about understanding your role on this earth and fulfilling that role.
Yeah, purity.
Having a pure heart, mind, body, and soul, and really learning to see what society does. This is one thing that we all go through as human beings. We build up an ego. We all build up an ego.
Oh yeah.
From our past trauma and our past experiences in life, and so a big part of that is, even if we look all of, looking back at Christ's teachings, all his teachings were about letting go of the ego that we've built up in life, from our past traumas, our past experiences, and learning how to be at one with the Creator, having peace, joy, understanding that the kingdom of heaven is within. And when you learn all these things, it washes away all the fear that you feel, and you don't feel any fear when you understand the truth. Because if you understand the lies, then there'll come a point in your life where you have to accept and learn and understand the truth.
So with your spiritual journey and what you've endeavored throughout your life, this has evidently helped you, purify in a sense and fill with one. Is that where you're trying to come from with it? Just
knowing all of these things and still having great peace within.
Yeah, because I do feel like what we've discussed, it's some very big topics for people to digest, and I don't mind talking about this stuff. I'm very strong-minded to that sense. Some people obviously, it's gonna, it's something that is a very big topics.
Yeah, it's very, very.
Yeah. But it's definitely good to put out there because some people can perceive however they want. They can take it as some news. They can take it as, oh, this is very interesting and very intellectual, and a lot of people can either come out of it, and this is one thing I noticed from the first episode is we had a lot of responses. Some people, obviously understanding, what you meant and what you were going through, and some people were very like, not happy about what was stated. So
course,
look,
yeah. That's That's fine.
Controversy comes with anything, and it's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just put everyone's perspective out there. Exactly. And I'm not
the thick skin that we.
And I'm not rebutting about what you have to say as well. Like, you have your own opinions, you have your own faith and your own spiritual journey. No one's gonna take that away from you. I've come out clean. I've stated my spiritual journey, and that's helped me grow as a person. How I isolate, and how I took time to ignore the noise, but become fixated on my goals and my purposes in life, and what good I can spread while I'm still here. I think that's very important. I feel like we all need to spread joy and happiness and
spread love. Yeah,
and spread love. That's really the big message out of it all. Everything we stated, it's very interesting, and we've dived into it quite fully, for sure. Like, we're not trying to be vague, we're trying to be
But that's the thing, yeah. Even spreading love requires you telling your neighbours the truth and waking up and warning people, because that is love.
Yeah.
When you love, have genuine love and care for people, you make it clear that you're not trying to spread fear, but you're actually trying to wake them up and warn them for what's coming, and warn them that this is truth. This is truth. Well,
especially,
I'm speaking
especially
about.
like
that's love.
The economic collapses and what we've stated, what you were stating about the New World Order, these things that you have researched. It is very interesting, and not a lot of people are going to agree with this. Like, I'll be frank with you. Not everyone's going to agree with what you're going to say, but again, what I'm coming out with is it's good to put it out there, because at least some people can take note of this. But yeah, no, this is just something that, I've come to learn with the podcast is, we can have different types of people, with their beliefs and with their journey and what's made them. And like, I want to recenter back to the music, because I think we should end off with a bit more of how you became this person as of now, and how the music has helped you form that love. It's a very big question. I do apologize.
No, it's a very good question. Music can help influence you, and it's very important that we feed our minds things with substance and things that are going to give us purpose. So when it comes to music and it comes to things like hip hop, we can also see how things like hip hop have been weaponized over the years. Yeah. And to the point where overall it doesn't portray a message that's going to help you throughout your life. So if we can turn things like that and have them wake people up and give them a sense of truth and give them a sense of understanding, that gives me great pleasure and great joy to be able to do that. Were you mainly just focusing more so on or were you saying just music in general? Like,
well, I mean, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from with that, but like, through your own music and the beats that you've made and what that's illustrated, everything that we've pretty much just discussed, does it go back to what you've been making with your beats and with the music videos and what you're trying to eventually, with your career expanding, is that where you're trying to go?
Yeah. I made a pact with myself that, I'm going to use the gift that the Most High has blessed me with and given to me, and I'm going to use it to bring forth His kingdom on the earth. And it's not all about, myself anymore. I want to spread the message of truth. I want to help people understand the truth to our reality, and I want to help them overcome the perils that this life has to offer. So It's just spreading music with a purpose, spreading hip hop with a purpose.
Yeah. I think what you're doing as well, and listening to your music, it's giving a re-spark to the genre, the old school genre that, we grew up and loved,
Yeah.
I feel like with your music and what I've, listened to, it's definitely, are you trying to give a re-spark to that genre, to a sense as well?
Yeah, I think you kind of do that subconsciously because...
not being aware of what you're actually doing, but to an extent you are.
Just giving it really just an extension of myself through my beats in which I make, and if you're blessed enough to be able to link up with the right artists, which I am at the moment, and I have been in the past, then they can help you bring that gift to fruition, through their lyricism. You have to meet the right people on your path in life that will help you achieve things like that. And just being a producer, I can't do that. I'm not a rapper. I need to work with the right artist, and like I said before, it just goes back to building that team. And if you have the right team around you that share your vision and share, that can help you achieve what you can achieve. But essentially, it all comes from having that goal and being able to do things like isolate yourself and have that vision and purpose and pray. I spent so many nights, I was up praying and. Really having that self-awareness and really understanding, what my purpose was. You have to go through the mud.
Trials, man, yeah, definitely.
You have to go through trials in life.
100%.
You have to go through uncomfortable situations.
100%.
It sounds like you understand that.
Yeah, well, it's not even me just understanding that. Like, there's people around me and there's people in general that have gone through the mud, but it only makes you stronger. It only makes you more mature. And again, like coming together with this podcast and talking about the topics we're talking about, it definitely is a very mature subjects that we're talking about. We're not being immature. We're not being like, I do music for money and clout. I'm all about the money. I wanna make millions. And don't get me wrong, money helps in that sense of providing financial stability for your family and it does put you in better situations in a sense, but it doesn't just change the outcome. It doesn't just magically make you happy. You can be poor, broke, and you could be the happiest person in the world. I do believe that 100%, and I don't think money is the answer to all problems. So when there is a lot of musicians out there, and not all, some are the most blessed and beautiful people. I've had a lot on the show. Music based, obviously Archie being music based, he has very good intentions with where he's going, and
sounds like a very talented guy.
Yeah, he's amazing, man. He's honestly amazing. Like when they go on stage, man, like there's just this purity, this soul, the soul within the music where you feel there's been love and craft put into it. But I'm not talking about that. I've got a lot of respect for people that put their heart and soul into it. And Tupac is a good example. And yeah, there's definitely things where it's he has talked about off topics, but his inevitable goal was harmony and peace, and he was trying to spread in his own image. He was trying to spread that. So that's why a lot of people in that sense look up to him, because he wasn't really in it for the money and clout. He wanted to change the culture, and that's why he got a lot of respect. Biggie got a lot of respect for that. But the point I was trying to come to before I got so distracted.
No,
gotta love distractions, eh?
Hey, yeah, it's all part of the conversation.
Literally, that's the thing.
It's all within the paradigm.
That's the thing, man. But there's musicians out there and artists out there are very money clout based, and it's it will take something really hard to hit. And I'm not just talking about artists in general. This could be this is a good example, Mike Tyson. This guy spent his life boxing, and I look up to many boxers. I love the sport. It's very beautiful.
Because you're a boxer yourself, yeah.
Yeah. Well, training in it, man, and definitely has helped me out. But Mike Tyson obviously made millions, over 50 million, something ridiculous. Anyway, with that money, he went ham. He went stupid with it. drugs and big parties, but then he eventually got to the point and realized that never made me happy. So when you watch him on Hot Boxing, he just seems at peace, man. He seems so at peace. He went through all this tribulation and trials and had the hard hits, and it really made him the person that he is today. So the thing is, you have to go through trials, you have to go through the mud, you have to have those ups for you to realize, okay, this is me going back to my roots. I need to go back to my roots. You can get lost in the money and fame, and it has become very damaging to, the economy. These people that have at a very young age, become so, famous, rich and famous. It's a struggle. So when you look at certain people that have just put money, put pride over money and put happiness over money, then I've got a lot of respect for them.
Absolutely. It all comes from, like you just said, very well said. You have to go through and put yourself in uncomfortable situations in life, and each and every individual has their own different experiences. Other people, are going to go through different things that you haven't gone through, and ideally to live a better life, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And I touched on accountability a lot, I remember, in the first podcast. Because if we're not accountable for our actions, how can we level up? How can we grow?
Yeah, how can you grow as a person?
It's impossible. Sure. Yeah, we need it goes back to having that, accountability, holding ourselves responsible for that, and then learning to make peace within ourselves and
trial and error, really.
Trial and error, and a life without tribulation, a life without people speaking against what you're doing in that. It's all part of it. It's all part of the process, and
exactly.
It's something that gives you thick skin. It's a blessing to have that. Not everyone's going to agree with what you say, or not everyone's going to agree with your vision, and that's okay. People are allowed to have their own opinions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
And it gives you great understanding and purpose.
No, it's beautiful. I think we'll have to end it off pretty soon. Definitely, this has been been really good.
We went longer than the first, didn't we?
Yeah, pun?
We've gone longer than the first, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. Like we've had more time, and we've gotten to dive into these topics. But I really wanted to bring you back on because I feel like we didn't get to talk about everything, and it definitely felt a bit rushed. And I did enjoy it. The reels definitely blew up. A lot of people were commenting on that. It got a lot of attention, and there's nothing wrong with spreading a bit of love and a bit of what's going on. And exactly what you're saying. A lot of people are going to agree. There's certain things that I believe in, and that's the things I'm going to believe in. There's things that you're 100% believing in, and that's it. People,
accumulating knowledge.
People are going to, exactly. I'm like a student. I'm accumulating knowledge, and I could take it however I want. That's what people can do with this episode. Accumulate, whether they want to take it as knowledge, as, oh wow, like that's really good insight, or whether they want to just be like, nah, this is whatever, I'm not going to listen to it.
I think the moment you stop becoming a student is when you might have to question yourself, because we're all students in life. And no matter how much knowledge you gain and wisdom and understanding you have, if you admit that you're too wise, and you admit that you know enough and you're no longer a student, I think that's the time where you have to question yourself. So no matter how much you learn and no matter how much knowledge you have, you always have to be in that humble state and always have to keep learning. And
I do think being humble is such a big thing. Again, going back to like boxing, that's taught me discipline. And being disciplined is pretty much the fact of, okay, like, I need to learn the art of boxing. It's not just like I'm going to learn it like that. I need to learn the art of it. And I have to be humble that I'm not good right now. But, if I keep training and keep being consistent, then I'll get there. So it definitely is all about consistency and just being intent with your goal. That's really it, man.
discipline as well is a big one.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
What's a final message you want to spread? Tell the viewers. Maybe actually, I got a good one. So, what's something you want to tell to the people that obviously went against what you had to say in the first episode?
Well, that's okay. I'll have love for them. No problem with
that.
No. That went against what I said.
Yeah, well, some of the reels obviously got, negative feedback. And hey, that's like, some people don't agree. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has their own opinions.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
They can believe what they like. No. I have nothing but love for them. That's okay.
No, that's it.
I guess, like I said, it's all part of, I guess, just trying to help people understand and it all comes with the truth. I mean, look what happened to Christ,
Yeah.
They killed him in the most brutal fashion, and the truth is a hard pill to swallow when you understand that. But you understand how great and how amazing it actually all is when you look at it into perspective.
Yeah, right.
So I guess with what's coming, people should be prepared. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it says that there's a time to laugh, a time to cry, a time to have fun. The time now is to understand. I might have touched briefly on this, but now's the time to warn people and prepare people for what's coming on the earth. So we touched briefly upon, their goals, and they want to depopulate people. And we touched briefly on that. And we need to understand that they're going to bring forth this one world order. These people that are in control, these secret societies. I mentioned, the Freemasons. I'm not talking about, the low level ones.
Yeah.
Go to your clubhouses around the corner.
Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah.
It's the high level,
Yeah, the higher ups, right.
Yeah, so what they're going to implement on society is chaos. They're going to create a scenario where they're going to collapse the dollar. And it's not going to be pretty. People have to be prepared, and they have to be smart and wise about how they move. So I would look into really focusing on a world where there's utter chaos and despair, and be prepared. Have food, have water.
So this has been a very interesting episode, and I really thank you for taking the time to really speak about some issues and obviously some qualities as people that we have, and there's a lot of love in what you do with your music too. Like it's definitely going to go somewhere. Career driven people definitely have good intentions, and they'll just. I usually with my viewers I say, what's a final message you're wanting to end off? Is there anything you're wanting to give insight about what you've learned over your coming years? What's something you're wanting to briefly just discuss?
Well, thank you for that. I'm very humbled to hear that.
All right.
I'd just like to just touch on briefly what I was saying before. Be prepared for what's going to come. It's not going to be pretty. The collapse of the dollar, and there's going to be a lot of I guess chaos and turmoil, but we can navigate through that.
100%.
We need to be prepared. We need to be spiritually prepared above all. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So, to get on our knees and ask the Creator for guidance and wisdom and understanding, and to be guided through these times. It's gonna make a world of difference. So obviously a lot of things are prophesied to happen, a lot of perils, a lot of tribulation that we're all gonna face, but we have to face that in a wise manner. Take care of ourselves first and foremost. Take care of our families and watch what we put into our bodies. Watch what we feed our minds. Stay away from the propaganda. Stay away from the spirit of fear. That's the number one way that they can control us, through fear. And they use fear as a tool to manipulate people's minds. It's a form of mind control. So we just need to face what's coming and be prepared spiritually. But not just spiritually, mentally and physically also.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So taking care of our fitness is also very, it's also going to be very beneficial. So, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Just want to finish off and say, like I said, don't be afraid, don't be scared. Let go of the ego. Understand that there's a greater force out there. Get on your knees, pray, and ask God for guidance and wisdom. It's going to be so. Helpful in a time that we're about to face. So, it's just a final message to the viewers, and it's an absolute pleasure you coming on.
No, thanks for coming on, man. I'm glad we got to tie off, and because obviously I've wanted to have you on as a guest for quite some time. And the first time was really good, but it was just very brief. I didn't really do justice on the music part, and I'm glad we got to explore that. And the topics have been great, fascinating to talk about, and it's very cool the knowledge that you've gathered over the years, and everyone's obviously gathers knowledge differently throughout their lifetime. So, it's been an honor to have you on, and thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
It's all love, man. Yeah.
I
look forward to seeing where the podcast goes in the future.
That's it, man. Just for everyone, just expect some more one-on-one episodes. I'm going to be doing like more one-on-one, more in-depth episodes. But it won't just be with musicians. It'll be with all types of people, businessmen, talking athletes. I'm looking into a lot of people. I love my MMA boxing, so definitely going to be diving into that. But it's good to change the narrative a bit. Doesn't have to just be one formula. I think if I do different things, there's nothing wrong with that,
And you got the mindset for it, you know what I mean? Very driven and very ambitious.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, we'll end it off here, and thank you so much for joining. Till next time, everyone.
Always a pleasure.
Have a good one. Awesome. Awesome, man. Killer. Thank you so much.